Hello and welcome back to International School History Teacher. Today, democracy seems to us to be the only legitimate form of government. But it was not that long ago that ruling social and economic elites successfully resisted calls for democratic government.
Give the like of Baldric the vote, and we'll be back to cavorting druids, death by stoning, and dung for dinner.
So why did the toffs at the top resist the calls for democratic reform? Modern authoritarianism dates to around about the time of the First World War and just after. The traditional autocratic forms of government through kings and queens and the aristocracy had been under democratic pressure throughout the 19th century. The ruling elites had sought to limit what they saw as the dangers of giving power to the people, and had had some success. But the Great War ended that. With the defeat of the Central Powers, traditional authoritarianism was swept away, and democracies established throughout Europe. In many ways, we can say that modern authoritarianism emerged to deal with what the elite considered to be the threat of democracy. So why was democracy seen as a problem? Educated gentlemen of the ruling class have always worried about what would happen if Edmund Burke's swinish multitude got to be in charge of the country. Firstly, there was the belief that the common man, and certainly the common woman, was just intellectually unable to comprehend the complex matters of state, and were in no position to make the informed choices that a democracy requires.
My good fellow, do you share our opinion that Monsieur de Ladier's recent speech on the situation in North Africa was simply a ruse to scupper the nationalist fringe of his own domestic party?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm unable to be of assistance in any of these matters.
You see, gentlemen, our good man here is unable to assist us in these matters. And yet, we still go along with the notion that this nation's decisions be left in the hands of our good man here and a few millions like him.
The second problem with democracy was the perceived threat to elite culture and Western civilization as a whole. It was argued that the lower orders in society lacked the refinement, the education, literally the breeding, to fully appreciate the achievements of high culture. Without the support of government, the high arts, that is literature, theatre, the ballet, etc., would be neglected and go into decline. And in their place, democratic societies would be subjected to the cultural tyranny of the majority and their obsession with football and cheap beer, Hollywood musicals and things like that.
If the right people don't have power, do you know what happens? The wrong people get it. Politicians, councillors, ordinary voters.
But aren't they supposed to in a democracy?
This is a British democracy.
How do you mean?
British democracy recognises that you need a system to protect the important things of life and keep them out of the hands of the barbarians. Things like the opera, Radio 3, the countryside, the law, the universities, both of them. And we are that system. Gosh.
But perhaps the ruling elite's biggest problem with democracy was democracy's egalitarianism. How will a minority elite that enjoys enormous economic and social privileges manage to hold on to those privileges if the majority doesn't want them to? Because in a democracy, it's the majority that counts. If most people are not wealthy, won't those people vote for policies that take the wealth from the rich minority and give it to the poor majority?
Okay, you should take this estate, this house, this land, and divide it up amongst the people in the town right away.
Deberíais tomar estas tierras, esta casa y dividirla entre la gente.
Lawrence, I think that private ownership of land must be totally given up, forgotten, cancelled, because it maintains people in a capitalist mentality.
So for the elites under threat after World War I, modern authoritarianism was a solution to this problem. Architecture of amnesia, scare the people with hysteria. Architecture